Partners in crime. Dharma Noble is back! Yay!
Ah,
One of the best companions of the show.
and she's already just immediately the best.
Or one of the best.
Yes, and she also has the best theme.
That theme, whenever it kicks in, you know something hilarious is gonna happen.
Yeah, she has the most comical theme out of all the companions.
I actually hadn't seen this one in like a long time. This is one of the ones that I do not go back to very often at all, and I was very pleasantly surprised.
It was pretty fun. It was quirky and whimsical, and I enjoyed it.
I love the like insanely goofy, just straight up cartoon tone that this episode has. Like we talk a lot about Russell's sort of different flavors of goofiness, and when we immediately open this story with like the two of them barely missing each other and like they're in the same room and it's like American Tail, like they're just missing each other by 5 seconds and you're like, just stop, just it's that's the kind of goofiness that I like. Like it's very obviously intentionally just cartoonish nonsense.
Unlike some episodes where they try to be half serious and half cartoony, it makes this weird tone.
Yeah. Like even the villain plot is just kind of insane weirdness.
Yeah, it's just cartoony and cutesy and weird.
Let's make an army of adorable little blood monsters out of human fat so that we can adopt them and bring them all into the space orphanage.
I mean, they're not even meant to invade everybody. I mean, the main adipose breeding planet disappeared. I sure hope we get an answer by the end of Series 4.
I'm sure that was a completely superfluous little detail with no long-lasting consequences whatsoever. Does anyone else remember when it felt like the adipose were like all over the place within the fandom as far as like dolls and fan art and stuff?
Yes. You see, unlike the Star Wars fandom, the Doctor Who fandom embraces the cute little creatures.
Yeah, and like I came into this show with Series 5, and so by the time I'm in here and I'm looking up what this show is about, I just see these things everywhere, and it's kind of weird to have like lived through the slow sort of dissolution of that, where you don't see like everyone in the Doctor Who fandom walking around or having some kind of adipose related thing on their profile or whatever. Like they were all over the place for like a couple of years after this episode.
I missed out on that, but I did manage to get a pop fungo of one, so.
We set up the Atmos cars here. There's Atmos in the taxi that Donna takes. And I love those little attention to detail bits.
There's just all these nice little seeds that they just plant in here that will just start being paid off over the course of the series, which makes me very excited to revisit this because this might be the most consistent series in Russell T Davies' run as showrunner of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I feel generally more positive coming off of our reviews of Series 3 about that series, like in terms of consistent quality episodes than I had for a long time. But I think you're probably right on that. 2 or 3 episodes each that I don't really like all that much. But when I look back on our Russell's era as a whole, this last series is always the one where I feel like he really hit his stride as far as handling the series arc, episode quality generally being consistent week to week. The Doctor and Donna have my favorite Doctor companion relationship, especially through like the Tennant years. Like there is a steady increase in quality and sort of like Russell knowing what he's doing from 2 to 3 to here, and I hope that that remains true.
Season 4 seems to be the fan favorite.
When I first watched Partners in Crime, I thought Madame Foster was going to be the Ronnie because, you know, experimenting on humans when throwing ethical boundaries out the window as a sonic device. So when it turns out that she isn't, I was kind of disappointed because that was a bit of a missed opportunity because as is, she's a bit on the forgettable side.
That thought honestly never even occurred to me. And I guess in retrospect, I can see how you would think that, kind of like the thing I had to Knock Knock, where I'm like, I have no reason to think this, but I feel like this might turn out to be a Time Lord plot. And then that doesn't happen, and I'm just really disappointed with the result. Miss Foster is definitely a better villain than whatever was happening in Knock Knock. But yeah, I kind of struggle to think of how you could sort of like do this plot and keep things the same and have it be the Ronnie, because like, why would she care about these little creatures that are missing their planet or whatever? Like, maybe she could just be doing it for like experimentation for science, because that's kind of her character, but I don't know. And also, Edward, it's Ms. Foster, not Madam Foster. Madam Foster is the little old lady from a Cartoon Network animated series. We can't get the two confused.
Well, I can confuse whatever I want.
There we go. I have really not much else to say about her, but she reminds me a lot of the Time Heist villain.
I suppose, just in that they're really well put together professional ladies, but I think there's enough differences between them, and especially because Miss Foster just clearly doesn't care about human beings, and yet I feel kind of bad for her anyway, because she obviously does seem to like genuinely care about these little fat creatures who like need to be taken care of and have their home gone. And I'm like, I don't know, how do we feel when she like falls to her death at the end and it's played as a joke? I kind of sympathized with her to a degree, because yeah, she is a bad person and is killing tons and tons of people, but at the same time, I feel like her character was maybe a little bit above dying as a gag. I don't know how I felt about that.
When I was younger, I thought her cartoonish death was pretty funny, but looking at it now, it's sort of like, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, given the tone of this episode, what were you really expecting?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The tone of the episode is just so goofy. I have a hard time taking any of it seriously, even with her stuff. It's like, it's meant to be funny, and it's the deaths played so cartoony. I really can't feel bad.
Yeah, again, I do still laugh at it. I do think it is funny. It just strikes me as a little weird that we give her a sort of like semi-sympathetic motivation and then do that, but whatever. Like, it's fine. The main thing, say, about this episode, which will obviously become like the big recurring thing throughout this series, is just that the Doctor and Donna are just amazing as a duo. Even just the bit where they're both trying to break into the window and Donna has like the little wrench and she's like smacking the window with the wrench is hilarious.
Smash it then!
I love the part where he says, "This is all your fault." Like, I should have got out of bed today. They're perfect together because the 10th Doctor is such an arrogant ass. He needs somebody to basically smack him in every episode. So she's perfect for him.
Yeah, and it's great, like the Doctor and the audience's introduction and reintroduction to Donna is like with the story so straightforward and goofy as to like really set the tone for their dynamic, because this is a similar level of like cartoonish goofiness, I think, to The Runaway Bride. And so it's nice to, especially after kind of the ups and downs of series 3, when Donna comes back, we're like, yeah, this feels right. This feels kind of like the last story we had with her.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say I like Runaway Bride a lot more, but this is still pretty fun.
It was controversial at the time for Donna to come back, as she wasn't as popular with fans when we had just the Runaway Bride to evaluate her as a character.
Yeah, I think a lot of what makes Donna's character in Runaway Bride work is looking at her retroactively, just looking at the Runaway Bride as a completely self-contained thing and looking at Donna as a character who's only going to appear once. I think it would be easy for a lot of people to dismiss a lot of her better character traits in that episode.
Which is a shame because, I don't know, I liked her from the start.
Like, even me, not having seen Runaway Bride in years before we talked about it, I remembered her being really obnoxious in that episode and sort of like mellowing out over the course of series 4. And that's not what happened. She's just a really cool, compelling character from the moment she's introduced. But I feel like just having one episode to go off of, a lot of people either lost track of that or failed to remember that and just remembered all of the yelling.
Most people, when they talk about the episode, all they talk about is, oh, angry woman yelling.
It would have been fitting if Christopher Eccleston was the Doctor during the Runaway Bride, because there was an episode when he was yelling at everyone to get into church.
And talking again about like the tone, I may or may not be proven wrong once we get into the Moffat era, but I feel like there's a sort of goofiness that Moffat has that is distinct from the goofiness and stuff like this episode. And it feels like a while since, like, not us rewatching it, but just watching the show as it goes. It feels like it's been a while since we've had this kind of silliness, and I kind of miss it. We legit end this episode with the journalist lady who was strapped to the chair. She comes up to them, still strapped to the chair. She just walked out of the building strapped to that thing and was like, I'm going to report you two for madness. And she just hobbles away.
I have a lot to say about reporter Penny Carter later.
Please do.
Go ahead.
I mean, I've been reading this book called The Writer's Tale, where this guy was exchanging emails with Russell T Davies talking about his time showrunning Doctor Who. And Russell T Davies originally envisioned a companion called Penny Carter for Series 4 until Catherine Tate said she wanted to go back to Doctor Who. So Russell still used the character, but in a more supporting capacity for just this episode, and gave her intended series arc to Donna.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Nice little tidbit.
I'm just glad that he didn't kill her, because I went through a lot of that episode expecting her to be dead by the end.
Yeah, probably in a comical way, the way the episode was going, but still, at least she made it.
Just with me not knowing how I feel about deaths in this episode, going back to the beginning, Donna kills someone by accident by messing with the pill thing and making her, like, adipose early.
Yeah, she turned into just little babies of fat.
I like having the plot center around alien babies again, since again that's a nice callback and sort of parallel to, or like showing how the Doctor's grown since the Runaway Bride, as Donna points out, where hooray, he didn't genocide the alien babies this time.
Character growth.
The Doctor mentioned Martha to Donna. Donna was like, so Martha really did you good, huh? Doctor's like, yeah, she did.
Also, can we just briefly mention that they actually kill some of the babies in this with a car?
I know, that was dark.
Yeah.
But since it was so understated, they probably were able to get away with it by having it just be an understated thing.
I honestly forgot that they actually got run over. I just thought that they, like, were under the car.
Yeah, you can hear like a splat sound.
Ugh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like he has his dark moments and dark humor and stuff throughout the series. I don't feel like he's like a kid-friendly Doctor Who. I know we feel like that because he has stupid episodes like the farting episodes and stuff like that. But
Little bit of darkness from Russell at this point. Even in his lighter episodes, we tend to get like some moment that's just kind of morbid, even if it's played for a gag.
Yeah.
I mean, even something as like straight up nonsensically goofy as Love and Monsters. Like, there's a lot of dark plot moments in that episode.
yeah, Doctor Who's always been that type of show. Even when it's cartoony, you have pretty dark stuff going on in the background.
And it still hasn't gotten anywhere near as dark as it was during the late 80s.
Yeah, he's correct. That's true. I have a missed opportunity for a little stupid gag when the Doctor visits the guy early in the episode who complains about like his burglar alarm going off every night. And like clearly that's the adipose jumping through his cat flap. Then we see an adipose jump out of the cat flap and the alarm doesn't go off.
Just forgot.
Or they just forgot.
That's a bit of a nitpick.
What are we, Samson?
Pretty much, but it is kind of funny to point it out, even though it doesn't matter.
Just because Lucy always likes moments where the Doctor's ego gets taken down a peg. I like that we resolved this story with something that not only feeds into that, but also will feed into Donna's arc as a character going forward, which is when, like, it looks like the Doctor can't stop the thing because he needs another capsule.
I have one right here, you moron.
Yeah, I love that, but I love that what he says right before that is, sorry, Donna, this is way beyond you.
Mhm.
Where it's like not only is that him being kind of egotistical and not realizing that other people can help him, and that's kind of to his martyr complex and just a lot of things
Very
that are,
Doctor.
yeah, it's very 10th Doctor, kind of a little bit all of the Doctors, but especially 10. But it also plays into Donna's sort of complex about her own self-worth. And like she has an issue of thinking that things are beyond her and that she doesn't matter and that she can't contribute. And she's immediately proving that wrong. And I love it.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good little, like, I'm going to be your equal, kind of moment, and I'm going to be helpful and not just be a companion that just bats her eyelashes at the doctor. And
Yeah, and even if not necessarily equals, just the idea that she is significant at all.
yeah, the doctor's not just okay. He's the smart one. Yeah, everybody else is just a moron that has to follow.
Yeah. My last note is just about Wilf and how Wilf is the best.
Thank God we have Wilfred. A sad production story about why they brought Wilfred back.
That being,
Because originally it was supposed to be Donna's father from The Runaway Bride, but then sadly the actor passed away before filming started.
really unfortunate. Yeah.
And they introduced Wilfred. But Wilfred is the best Doctor Who parent character ever.
True.
Pretty much.
Yes, I like him even more than Roy's dad.
Rory's dad's pretty cool, but Wilfred's probably the best.
And plus, just because, like I said, I don't go back to these two episodes often, I always felt like there was like a significant period of time between Wilfred appearances from him being like technically introduced in Voyage of the Damned, but it's weird to think of it as like, no, this is the next episode and he's already back.
It's in there more consistently than I remember as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think of his cameo in Voyage of the Damned and him properly showing up as like things that have a significant gap between them, and they have no gap at all.
Nope, it's literally one episode after the other.
Long story short, a good episode. One of the strongest series openers ever.
I would not go that far at all, but to me, it was a very good episode. It was on the same level as like the Looper episodes and things like that. More comical, fun. Not going to make it on my top 10, but definitely an episode I would turn on and for fun and enjoy.
Yeah, it's a solid start to what's going to be a very solid series of episodes.